I'm doing great. And yes, it is a glorious day because the sun is out and it's warming up. And I'm so happy to be speaking with you.
Oh,
yeah, thanks so much.
Aren't you kind? I saw you for the first time, I want to say about 25 years ago at Annie's, and I sat there mesmerized by how fast your right hand was. And I'm thinking to myself, how does she get that to do that and sound so good? You obviously were in music a lot before then, but your right hand was just a blur that night.
That is my style. I never felt like I had as much dexterity in my left hand as a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of guys that I see, but there's definitely been more guys that I've seen play guitar.
Yeah.
And Stevie Ray was a huge influence, and mainly his right hand. So I learned early on that my right hand, especially if I do what's called like a figure eight, that I don't wear myself out and I can hit everything 4 times.
Wow. Wow.
So it's this illusion. But it's all, yes, it's speed and everything, but it's a style that I developed. And also being female, I'm strong for a woman, but I'm not as strong as guys.
Yeah.
So I always had to find this workaround. And I found sometimes if I stomped my boot a little harder, it gave me a little more support.
She's got a problem, don't know what to do. Don't want to talk about me, just want to talk about you. I don't know what to do, no, I don't know what to say. Ain't got no problem with solution, no, ain't it all the other way.
I'm not a critic here. I'm just a fan. I remember in 1994 you came out with "Sisters Got a Problem," that album.
Yeah.
And if you listen to it now and you listen maybe to maybe the album you put out in 2014, the Blue Wisp album, the live album.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
the growth is unbelievable. But I'm just wondering, in '94, man, when it was the whole record game was new, and you were getting trying to get that record and get that label deal and all that. If you could go back and talk to that Kelly Richey in 1994, what would you tell her?
I had been I'd been in a band as a side person on a major label, and I had seen up close and personal the industry at that time. And it was brutal. And I chose to be an independent artist. And that comes with a blessing and a curse.
Got a problem, don't know what to do. Don't want to talk about me, just want to talk about you. I don't know what to do, no, I don't know what to say. Solution, no, ain't all the other way.
I also, at that time in my life, I was unmanageable. I was on a mission from God with a guitar in one hand and a chip on both shoulders.
Yeah.
And in many respects, that served me well. It was definitely the fire in my playing. But I also didn't have the maturity of production, of song selection, all of those things that I think are an artist's worst nightmare when you have someone else picking your songs.
Yeah.
In hindsight, they've probably got more sense than you do because they have some separation.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one thing. And I wasn't a commercial artist. My strength was in co-writing. And I always was looking for that Fleetwood Mac type setting because I felt that I would be best served in a commercial sense as a Lindsey Buckingham, to where, I had a portion of the show to step out and shine, and it wasn't resting on my shoulders solely. So, I played a lot of folk duos coming up, even though I started on the electric. That was where my passion was. But, I loved to be a guitar slinger, and women at that time, they didn't do it. There just weren't many women to look at. Your simple question was, what would I tell her?
Yeah.
Just follow your heart and be glad nobody's going to tell you what lies ahead, because you wouldn't have the stamina to do it if you knew how hard it was, because it really was.
I've got a lot of your albums. Speechless obviously was a wonderful album, and literally you carried the day. I mean, there are no lyrics. It's wonderful. Now, One Day We'll Feel the Sun is an unbelievable piece of work.
Thank you.
I just absolutely love it. And Carry the Light, I read this about this. Now, this came out in 2008. You got the album when it came out. You said that it was the first album that you did that you thought the way you wanted the Kelly Richey Band to sound. And I'm wondering about that. I don't know whether or not there have been subsequent albums that have come out. We've had live albums, but that particular album seems to be at the epicenter of where the Kelly Richey Band was. I mean, Leave the Blues Behind, again, another great piece of work. A little bit about that album. Does it now look, we're 18 years down the road from when it came out. Was that the sound that you were looking for, the search that you had been on? Was that it, or was that Odyssey not, as we know, 18 years down the road? Was it not the destination for you?
It and Dig a Little Deeper, I think, were both the same experience for me, because when you go in the studio, you can do what you want to do, and all things are possible. Then you get on the stage with the three-piece band, and you find out what's probable.
Daddy needs a job. He's about to give up trying. There's money on the street if you're not afraid of dying.
Speechless really was the studio version of my guitar expression. Yeah. But I think the sound that I was looking for most in the studio happened with Sweet Spirit. Freak Bass was my bass player at the time, and one of my favorite drummers, Robbie, with Dwayne Lundy at Shangri-La Studios. I went in and recorded. I'd done all of the demos to a loop track in my studio. And so I knew the pieces and parts. And then I gave those to Dwayne. And the drummer and I, we went in and did pre-production and recorded, a lot of tracks just to get our feel together. Then we brought in Freak Bass and we just set up live. We recorded that record in a couple of days, and that ended up being the sound because I took every single song to the stage.
I need a storm to keep riding. I need the rain just to feel. I need the wind to keep moving so I can find something real. Think about me, the rising sun.
I love Sweet Spirit. It was wonderful. It's a really great long track, Rising Sun. I just love it.
That's my favorite song
ever.
Oh
my gosh.
I need some truth to believe in. I need some love just to heal. I need the sun to start shining so I can find something real. Think about me, the rising sun. Think about me when the day has died.
Any artist that can do a live album that captures the essence of what the artist is about is really great, because live albums are not easy to record or to mix and then to market. But you've had, as you mentioned, several, the Wisp, and then 2004, I think you had Kelly Richey Live, and then you had one in 99 too. So your live obviously is your venue, right? More so than the studio, am I right?
It really, yes, I think for a three-piece band, it is definitely where I shine and where I just have, total freedom. And if we record multiple nights in a row and just pick, where's the magic in these, that has worked, really well. And I think it definitely sums me up as far as a guitar slinger. My original passion was I wanted to be like a Joe Walsh and produce and do, that folk rock, that Fleetwood Mac heart kind of thing. And so I enjoy that so much. And so now my studio is set up for me to really dive in and record. And I do want to play, begin to break back into the scene and play live electric, and I love to play solo acoustic.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
That's what I'm looking to do here is once the winter breaks to get back at, I don't even know what's happening in the music scene. I'm not from here. I moved up here in 97. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I moved up here, I started touring all over the country and abroad. And so I met people at like music festivals or award shows. And I only played locally, when I was off the road, and so I don't know the scene as well as everybody else does. And so I've got to, kind of come out of my studio down here and start breaking back in. And this is a good opportunity to put that stake in the ground.
Have you ever stopped to consider not just how many guitar players you have taught, but how many that have been successful in a live or commercial setting? The number has to be staggering.
Yeah, I've taught thousands of students, and that sounds like, oh my God, how can one person teach thousands of students? But when I was like in my early 20s, I had 40 students, 30-minute students at a little mom and pop store in Lexington. And I remember the owner, he'd always get a kick out of the guys that would come in that would be the, guitar players have such ego. They'd have these big egos.
Guitar players have egos? I had no idea, Kelly.
That's the most important thing, and then you got to see if you can play. But he would, hear these big guys would come in and he'd say, here's your teacher. And they're like, that's a girl. It's like, yep, it sure is. Get downstairs.
You are, without question, a legend, and I do hope that you get back out and perform live, because I think you'd be surprised how many of the legions in this area would come to see you. But for this time here, Kelly, I really appreciate it, and hopefully we can bump into each other someplace, maybe on your front porch. Who knows?
Maybe you'll take some guitar lessons.
Well, you know what? As you say, you're never too late in life to learn.
It's never too late. No, Thank you so much. I really appreciate the conversation. I love your work, and thanks for giving myself as an artist a voice.
Thank you so much.